David Crisafulli.
Here.
Jim McKenzie's here, Kristen Norfleet.
Here.
And Sean Imon.
Here.
So if we can stand for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so there's nobody on the floor to the public this evening, so acknowledgements with Kristen.
Thank you. We are going to start our district tour at the middle school tonight. OMS held a scooter basketball game Friday night. The National Junior Honor Society held the event for the purpose of raising money for the Jack Bobbitt Memorial Scholarship. Teachers, counselors, assistants, administrators, and substitutes all joined in to play a fun game of basketball on scooters. The 8th grade team won over the 7th grade team. OMS also held an informational night for parents on vapes and vape prevention. Farnham counselors were on hand to discuss what vapes are, what they look like, where students hide them, and how they harm students. Families got to ask questions and get resources to help their children at home. Moving to Oswego High School on March 21st and 22nd, Oswego was honored to host the All-County Orchestra Concert. The students worked very hard and the performance was superb. Congratulations to the students who were selected to represent Oswego at this festival. Also at the high school, OHS just implemented the open gate system on Tuesday, March 25th. Students and staff learned and adapted together for this new procedure. Within 3 days, all students were in the building before 7:30 a.m. For those of you who are not in tune with the high school schedule, that means by the time the final bell rings. We appreciate everyone's hard work to make this a success and to prioritize the safety of all in our building. And lastly, a huge congratulations to Oswego Winter Guard for being awarded the SA3 champions this past week. Great job to everyone involved. Next, focusing on technology education, on Friday, March 28th, members of the middle and high school technology department traveled to SUNY Oswego to compete in the annual Tech Wars. Some of the event highlights this year included catapults, CO2 cars, bridge building, and cardboard boats. The middle school team took home first place for their catapult. Also on Friday, March 28th, members of the WBUC TV program and the Paradox Yearbook traveled to CCC in Auburn. Students toured the telecommunication department and learned about programs they offer through Oswego's dual enrollment. At the music department, on April 18th and 19th, the following students participated in a 2-day orchestra festival featuring other students from Oswego County. Their event culminated in a performance on Saturday, April 19th, conducted by Ms. Devin Schusler. We would like to recognize these students for their hard work, dedication within music and the arts, and for representing Oswego: Olive M., Jacob B., Lucas M., Sadie D., Hunter S., Emery R., Gavin L., Roman M., Derek D., Bryn E., Matthew K., Heron P., Ethan M., and Lauren J. Next, going to Minetto Elementary School, Lucky Bucks and World Down Syndrome Day. Minetto Elementary students and staff were reminded how lucky we all are to be a part of a caring community. The Home and School Association helped us create Lucky Buck shamrocks for every student and adult in our building. These are proudly displayed throughout the hallways. World Down Syndrome Day reminds us of the beauty in our differences. I'm reminded so often that Minetto fosters an environment where acceptance and understanding thrive. Together, we create a space where every student's potential is recognized, valued, and supported. Thank you for celebrating and promoting the spirit of inclusion every day. And finally, at Fitzhugh Park, FPS has had a busy couple of weeks. They had their musical production of Dear Edwin Jr., Classroom Buddy Day, Leader in Me Assembly, PBIS celebration, and finished their readathon. A total of 51,948 minutes were read, which raised a massive total of $5,921. And the kindergarten students had their annual tea party. We're so grateful creative and talented students, our amazing staff, and supported FPS families and school.
Okay, thank you very much, Kristen. Next on the agenda, we have 2 items under Board of Education. I'm going to ask to link the first two together. There are resolutions to appoint inspectors and a board of registration for the upcoming budget vote and Board of Education election. So if I can have a motion for items A and B, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then item C is the 2025 senior class trip. If I can get a motion for item C, please.
I'll move.
Thank you, Kristen. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion? Okay, I'm just going to thank everybody involved in planning this. It's been a while since our seniors have gone away for a senior trip, at least since COVID. And so I really appreciate the class leadership working with the administration and the everybody else to make this happen for this year. And hopefully that it'll be a shining example of things for years to come. So, okay, anybody else? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Superintendent's report, Dr. Kilmer.
Mr. Clucci and I are going to go ahead and present this together. He's going to get started, and I'm going to finish out. Mr. Clucci.
Good evening. Can you hear me all right? Good? Okay. Just a brief overview of what we're going to be doing with regards to budget development. The first budget timeline is today. We're going to give you an overall budget overview of the different components in the budget. Also going to give you on April 26th the proposed budget for your approval on April 22nd, excuse me. May 6th will be a budget hearing for the board and public, and May 20th will be the budget vote. As we move forward, you know, our budget guidelines really don't change much from year to year, but the things that we're going to stay focused on are the fact that our budget has to be fiscally sound and does not overburden our taxpayers. We believe that what we're doing is responsible. It has to be flexible so that we have the flexibility and room to move money from one budget line to another budget line in the event that we have an emergency or possibly an opportunity to take advantage of for the benefit of our kids. We have to be able to adapt our budget to make sure that we can certainly take care of any emergency that comes our way or any condition that may require additional funds. And in terms of our budget, our flow, our cash requirements have to meet our operating goals and prospects based on the fact that we don't want to have to go out and borrow money on the short term in order to make those adjustments. What are our priorities that we really keep a focus on here? Obviously, everything is student-centered. We want to make sure that our facilities and our grounds are safe for both our students and our staff. We want to make sure that we're providing the best experiences with regards to academics, also with extracurriculars for all of our students, whatever their interests may be. We want to make sure that we increase accessibility to opportunities either through our programs that we build here or the programs that we may share with other school districts through BOCES or even the college. We want to make sure that our offerings academically and with regards to other extracurriculars are diverse and spread out to attract as much interest and provide as much fulfillment to our students as possible. And we have to look at what we're doing this year, but we also want to make sure we're looking out forward 3 to 5 years at the very least in terms of continuing what we're doing. Obviously, we want to make sure that everything we do is sustainable. What are we going to do with the program budget that I'm going to show you right now? I'm going to go over the components of the program budget, which has to do with teaching in regular schools, programs for students with disabilities, our occupational education program that right now we work with city BOCES to provide offerings for our students. The school library is in there. Computer-assisted instruction with regards to our technology and technological opportunities that we provide for kids. Our guidance department, health services, psychological services, the social work portion of our budget that helps support kids that really need help pretty much immediately. Interscholastic athletics, transportation, and benefits. All of that is piled into the program budget in terms of categories. What do we want to do with regards to this? Maintain our programs and enhance them without cutting or dismantling programs as long as they're effective. We want to maintain our current staff, and this budget does do that. And we want to make sure we're continuously focused on the safety and security of both our kids, our staff, and the public when they're here. Basically, with regards to the numbers of staff that we have on site, as well as the infrastructure, and we've made some of those improvements this year. Okay, overall, if you look at 25 to 26, here's basically our program budget in a snapshot. The first column is what we're proposing for 25, 26. The second column is what we're looking at with regards to what we're spending this year and the difference between the two. Overall, we're pretty much maintaining program, and we're looking at a slight increase in instruction in terms of costs, but all of those are pretty much covered. Transportation, we're looking at contractual increases with regards to using contractors for out-of-district runs, typically athletics, and some other minor changes which are showing an increase. And in terms of our benefits, if you were here last year, you all were, you remember what happened with our benefits. Our benefits screamed and had a substantial increase of millions of dollars. This year, we're looking at basically a contractual increase in our benefits and some other increases that are tied to requirements with regards to the teacher's retirement system and the employee's retirement system. Overall, with regards to program, we're looking at a $3.3 million increase, okay, over this year, what we're already spending. And the next portion of the presentation is Dr. Kilmer's. Okay, buddy, I hit the button, right?
Just to go back to what Mr. Clucci was speaking about when it comes to the transportation component. Oswego City School District, like districts throughout Oswego County, I would say Onondaga County throughout central New York, we are really struggling to find drivers. Transportation is a significant concern for districts across New York State, and I would imagine across the country. It's very difficult to recruit, hire, and then retain our drivers. Our staff does an incredible job. We have mechanics, we have office workers, we have dispatchers, I should say, our head driver who are ultimately picking up routes because of really the lack of additional drivers and subs that we have. Because guess what? They're humans, they get sick, they have doctor's appointments, they have needs that they need to take care of. So transportation is a high priority for me. I even volunteered to Mr. Gunn last week. I said, if there is something that I can do, I do not have my CDL, but if there is something that I can do, if there is a route that I can take on a particular day, call me, I'll do it. Whatever we've got to do to help and support that unit. Because in the end, they're supporting our kids. And so I want to highlight that because it is a conversation that we'll need to continue to have as a district. Schools, I know, again, across the country are going to have these same conversations, but we really do need to look for ways to recruit additional, drivers. I know there are a couple of retirees behind me. If you're looking for something to do in retirement, we will pay for your CDL, we'll help in your training, but we would love for you to come on board in maybe another way to support children if you'd like. Just saying. To continue on the overall budget from year to year, I'm going to kind of sum things up. Over the last couple of weeks, Mr. Clucci outlined capital, administrative, and the program and budget. So I'm going to just summarize it and package it up for us. And then we'll do another presentation again at our next board meeting where I'll ask you to approve the budget moving forward. One part of the budget this year is, again, another capital outlay project. I introduced this to you last year. We approved a capital outlay of $100,000 for Riley. There is some additional work that we did in that design of this initial capital outlay that we would like to target the next one for, since we've already done that design work. $100,000 isn't a significant amount of money when you're talking about capital improvements to facilities, and so we can only do small chunks. There is legislation being considered at the state level, but it's been floated around for a number of years to increase that to $250,000. But like I said, that's been floated around for a while. And again, just a reminder, a capital outlay project allows you to do some facility work up to $100,000 where you will receive 100% of your aid calculation of that amount in the next year, right? So when we do facility projects, large facility project, they're aided over many years, right? This is an opportunity for us to target something that needs to be done in one specific building, get it done, and then get aid the next year. And so it allows us to, tick some of those smaller items that maybe we can't address through our typical maintenance budget, but allows us to get some work done. We have a couple of doors that are being done for Riley. We have a contractor that you approved a couple of meetings ago. They've ordered all of the supplies. We anticipate them to start that work in the next couple of weeks and finish before end of summer. So by the start of the school year next year, that's what they'll be done. Our hope is that you will approve, and then our voters will approve a capital outlay for next year. And then if we are able to get that approved, we will bid immediately. The one nice piece about the work that we did in the planning project for this, all that planning and SED submission is done. So we would be able to immediately go out for another bid and potentially get that work done even very early in next school calendar year. Again, focus back on, there's a number of doors. If there's some additional monies, address the flagpole that's in front. It's in awful disrepair. It's rusty. We have a couple of those around the district that are just in really disrepair. And so we would likely take care of that as well. So one important piece that all districts have to do to ensure that there's comparability across the state is to present their budgets in a three-part budget, okay? And it's to make sure that communities have a good understanding of what's a part of the school budget. And so again, administrative doesn't mean all administrators. It's a category. So administration is all oversight and supervision not related to services provided directly to students. It's covered in other two components. Program includes all instructional, special education, occupational education. That's the portion that Ms. Clucci just reviewed. And then capital, all the costs associated directly with the operations and maintenance of our school district. And so this is a comparison of the 24-25 budget and then our proposed 25-26. And so when you look from year to year, you see a decrease in capital from year to year, a pretty significant one, a little more than $2 million decrease between 24-25 and 25-26. And then we have administratively about a $700,000 increase in administrative, and then about a $6 million increase in program from year to year. So what we're looking at for total budget from 24-25 to 25-26 is almost exactly a 4% increase budget year to budget year. So the $112 million to $116 million. And this pie chart kind of gives you an idea as to what the percentages are. I think you might remember I shared this with you last year because historical data is important to get a general idea of proportionality of our budgets. Program touches kids most directly, right? So when we're looking at building our budget, we want to ensure that the largest part of that pie is focused squarely on kids. And I want to show, again, the trend here in Oswego has been to focus on that. When you look at trends at administrative and capital, while there's been some slight increases, overall, when you look at the big picture, it's pretty flat. The significant increase in focus is really on program, which is student-centered. The Board of Education, the community have always valued program to ensure that kids are getting what they need. This budget prioritizes that once again. So just a summary of what the budget vote election day will look like. There'll be 4 propositions. There'll be the budget vote. There'll be the Board of Education election of 2 members. We also have transportation purchase. Again, I kind of reviewed this with you last year. We're looking at 8 full-size buses, 1 wheelchair bus. The total is about $1.5 million total. But remember, we get significant aid back, transportation aid back, to pay for these buses. So while the cost is $1.5 million, that really ends up being about between $36,000 and $37,000 per year for us annually, holistically. Again, there's an assumption that we're going to get about 90% state aid back over that term that we're bonding for those buses. And there's also, we're going to receive money when we trade some of our buses in of about $20,000 per year. And so while we have to ask our voters to borrow for our buses, when you look at the total cost, the district does well to use this rotation of changing out 9 buses every year, allows us to maintain a fleet, allows us to decrease our maintenance and staffing costs to upkeep buses while maximizing state aid for this community. Any questions about the 3-part budget or transportation?
So the annual cost of 36 and a half, does that assume that $20,000 that you're talking about then? So is it really 56 and you kind of put in the 20 that you expected back each year from the buses that we sell?
So again, that total amount is assuming that we're getting $20,000 per vehicle and 90%. The annual cost for us that we're trying to budget, and Mr. Clucci, correct me if I'm wrong, we're trying to budget in there an annual cost of about $37,000 per year to maintain those transportation vehicles.
If I could say something just a little bit differently, and it might be easier to see, if it costs $36,000 per year, okay, that's what it costs for the buses. When all's said and done, okay, we would get $20,000 per bus when we trade them in next time. So it's more of a symptom of equity for what we really lay out as opposed to, honest trade over time.
Other questions? Okay, appreciate it, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Kilmer and Mr. Clucci. Appreciate the time, the presentation. Next, we have our committee discussions, of which we have 1, visitation committee. Julie?
We had 2 visits since our last meeting. We had an opportunity to go to the middle school, which was enlightening, quite literally. It's so bright in there, and it's really beautiful. And having gone to that school, I don't know, have you been down there, Sean, lately? Well, obviously you have. It's wild to walk through those hallways. It does not look like the same school. The lighting, the lockers, it's really pretty impressive, actually. As always, I do want to say, like, when we go to these schools, we're kind of going there in the morning before kids arrive. And I'm always impressed by the enthusiasm of middle school teachers. They're just happy to be there. I'm not quite I've never seen anything like it. I mean, all those 13 and 14-year-olds, they're always enthusiastic. It's so evident when you see them. We did have the opportunity while we were walking around to join a music class. They were having a drumming lesson, and we were invited to drum. We had to hold Tom back a little bit on that. But they were drumming. That was very, very nice, small group of students. You know, on the flip side, it's kind of a little bit of a tale of two cities because there are parts of the school that clearly have not been touched. I personally was really taken back by the state of our cafeteria. So I know we talked about that, and it's not really, in the horizon too soon. Is that right? Mm-hmm. So, but the good news, we did look at, obviously some of the changes that are going to be taking place in the main office, the nurse's office. We had a chance to see the gym and the locker rooms, which too need quite a bit of updates. As far as the outdoor space, we did have an opportunity to hear about some of the future projects in how the reconstruction of the tennis courts are going to look. I don't know how much of this is public, but you know what that's going to look like with some pickleball areas. And so that sounds really exciting for not only our students in our schools, but the community as well. And especially another really beautiful point that I just kind of resonated with me for a while is they have this really beautiful special education room that they've occupied, and with some really great natural light, beautiful glass windows that overlook, they kind of look, what do they look, west. So they overlook these community gardens. Oh, geez. That's why I shouldn't have water and talk with my hands. They overlook these gardens that we're sharing and collaborating with the neighboring church. So that was really nice. We learned a little bit about that. On my way out, I'd forgotten to ask about the road work at the middle school. And that's always a very hot topic. And if you've ever driven down at the middle school, in or out to the drop-off line or in or out to the back track or the soccer fields, you might want to, if you're heading in, go on the left side. Don't drive on the right side where you're supposed to. It's treacherous. And it sounds like some of that's going to be repaired this summer, possibly, right? That's the hope.
That's the hope. So that's the nice thing. So we've got the 2018 project that there's going to be some work starting. Our hope is later this summer and fall. The 2024 project that was voted on and approved this past year, we pushed hard to get some design work done early and try to pull some items out in the hopes that we might be able to start some of that work this summer as well. That would be the part of that transportation entryway into the middle school. Our hope is that will get under the wire. We can actually get that work done. Again, all of this always comes down to successful bidders, timing, do we get state approval in time, all those pieces. But, the facilities committee, our construction management team, King and King Architects, the group has been really working hard to try to expedite this work so we can get it done. And then just on top of that, at Fitzhugh and Kingsford, I know we've talked a little bit about this before. We declared those two as emergency projects. That work is well underway, meaning in that design and ordering of the materials, and they are on track for installation this summer. So fingers crossed all goes well and we can have both of those done this summer. So really some great work being pushed ahead quickly.
Good, nice. So we had a great visit at the middle school. It was nice. So thank you to Principal Godkin for that. We also went to Fitzhugh Park. Principal Malloy Beneke showed us around. The lighting there was amazing as well. The school itself, is very similar to Kingsford. It definitely has a different look and a different feel. And I can't quite put my finger on it, but the signage in there and their, especially around their Leader in Me programs, is just pretty inviting to any outsider going in, which I'm sure the students as well. We did learn about the fifth graders having for the first time going through classrooms where they're traveling and having different teachers in different subject areas. So that rotating schedule seems to be going pretty good for them. I'm adjusting to it, I should say, both teachers and students. We talked a lot about the pickup, drop-off area at Fitzhugh. Well, I'm pretty familiar with most of the schools' drop-off, pickup areas are challenging. It, to me, sounds like Fitzhugh might, I looked out there and felt challenged just looking at it. Like I couldn't for the life of me figure out how they do their drop-off, but they're making it work. And we did talk a little bit about the reconfiguration of that parking lot so that might be easier for them. And we did get to see where the basement office was redone, where we had some damage recently. And it's as if it didn't happen. I guess although it did happen, but it didn't look like anything happened. So they did a great job with that. So that was it for visitation.
Thank you very much, Julie.
Yep.
Excuse me. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. There's only 2 items, so I'd like to group them together, please. So if I can have a motion for consent agenda items A and B.
I'll make the motion. Okay.
Tom, and second Julie. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next up, we have, it's personnel, isn't it? Yes. Okay, I'm getting my speaking voice here going. We're going to group personnel items A and B together as they're all retirements. And so we would like to acknowledge Amanda Brown, who has been a teaching assistant since September of 2005. Mary Maxwell, who has been an elementary teacher since 1993. Hope Mazurowski, who has been an elementary teacher since 2004. Beth McCroby, who's been a teaching assistant since 2021. Lisa McPherson has been an English teacher since 1995. Philip Meany has been a technology education teacher since 2005. Sandra Skasha has been a teaching assistant since 2006. Nikki Vandenberg has been a special education teacher since 2014. Richard Chuban has been a bus driver with us since 2022. James Jackson has been a senior maintenance worker since August of 2001. And James Scanlon has been a bus driver with us since 2018. And we'd like to acknowledge the full commitment of these individuals that had the best interests of our students and who worked in partnership with their fellow employees. So I'd like to have it resolved that the Oswego City School District hereby recognizes their dedication and that we express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for all of their years of service. So if I can have a motion for items A and B, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Sean. Any discussion?
When I read this list, when I was prepping for the meeting, all I could think of was, wow. These are some teachers whose names I've heard as long as I've lived in Oswego, since I moved here in 1999. And these buildings are going to greatly miss what they contribute. I see that Ms. Maxwell is here. Thank you so much. I texted my kids when I saw that you and Ms. Mazurowski were both retiring and Dr. Volcom were on a prior, and their response was, wow, I can't believe it. So thank you so much for everything that you've done over the years. I know that you have been critical to our kindergarten students, you especially, Ms. Maxwell. And there's going to be some big shoes to fill in these positions with you guys leaving, but I wish you the best in your retirement. Thank you so much.
Any other board members? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, on the exact flip side of that, we have item C, which is a new administrative staff recommendation for Jennifer Perbilski. I even asked her. Sorry, Jennifer. Who is going to be, who's looking to take over as principal of Kingsford Park, speaking of which. So if I can have a motion for item C, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Now I'd like to formally welcome you. Thank you very much. There were a lot of Kingsford Park teachers on here, so we're a lot of change. Yes, welcome. Okay, next I'm going to group the rest of the items, which are D through M. These are support staff recommendations and extra compensatory recommendations. So if I can please have a motion for personnel items D through M.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have finance, and we have 4 items that'll group together, please. So if I can have a motion for finance items A through D. Thank you, Julie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion on finance items A through D? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to items from the board. Are there any items from board members this evening?
I just wanted to say that the new bookmobile did arrive. I know my great nieces, when they come in the summertime all the time, and grandkids and that, they always ask, is the bookmobile out today? So hopefully everybody gets a chance to visit it this summer when they start doing the routes.
Any others? Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to report from Oswego County School Boards Association and our AI event that we had just this past Thursday, and it was a great event. And actually, Dr. Kilmer was out there as well. And one of the presenters, Ed Finney, has also reached out. It was to potentially do something with us for professional development for around the county as well. And we had a meeting last night, and some other districts are interested in that as well. So it's something we could potentially look at collectively going into the future to bring him to speak about the practicalities of AI. And I thought it was a great presentation, again, to look at AI because it's how it's affecting us all and how it's going to change. It's continually running all the time. It's going to change our lives. And so the better we can prepare kids to handle that and to handle the future, I think we'll do a better job if we can prepare that for that. So that's it.
Thank you, Tom.
Good, Jim. Just to follow up, I was listening to Julie when she was talking about the visitation committee, and I know I've talked to Mr. Colucci and Dr. Kilmer, being the chair of the facilities committee. I definitely want to come up with some ideas on how we can improve all of the work that we're doing. Many of our community members don't attend or listen to our board meetings. They may quickly, go through our newsletter. But I'd really, Julie asked me if I saw the high school, and just Sunday afternoon, a community member was asking me why we can't do more. Why our gym at Layton, where we play basketball, doesn't look like other basketball gyms for varsity, basketball in this case. And before I was on the board, I probably would have been griping with that person the same way, like everything looks like, man, But now being part of it, and what I've learned on the facilities committee, and what I hope my point in this is that I want to bring more information to the board so that you can go out and be prepared when you have, community members that come up to you and say, why can't we have this? Because what we're doing and the plan that's been put together, and what we've shown and how the deficit that we have as far as our buildings and the conditions and the building condition survey that we went through, that we're starting to put some things together. And when you go in the middle school, it's a brand new build. There's parts of the middle school, not all of it. Thanks, Joel. There's parts of it that are brand new, and that are just unbelievable. And so, what we have to ask our community to be patient. But I think they'll be more patient if we're able to absolutely explain in detail our plan and our progress, because there's a lot of progress that is going on, last year, this year, our new referendums. And I'll put it on me to bring it to you guys, and then I ask you, to really be able to communicate this to our community members, because it's important, because if their kids aren't in middle school, they're never gonna see the inside of the middle school. If they don't have kids at Kingsford Park, they're not gonna see the improvements. They may not see new elevators at 2 elementary schools or new doors over at Riley. So we need to get this word out there so that they feel better about what the school district is doing as far as facilities improvement. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there, and now I'm going to take up more time in future board meetings to let you know what the facilities committee is doing every 2 weeks. So anyway, thank you.
I want to speak directly to that, Sean. Last night we had at our meeting, and we're not alone in this challenge to communicate to the community. Brenda Albagore from Fulton mentioned the same thing, was talking about, we put the information, and then someone will come out and say, I didn't hear about this. And then they have other people saying, stop with the communication. We have too much. We're getting too much of it. So I think it's a challenge we always have and will continue to have, but I think also through our Community Relations Committee, we need to continue to explore possibilities and how we can just amplify and reach out, get as much engagement as we can. So we'll keep on doing that as well.
Thank you both. Anybody else? Okay. There is a need for an executive session this evening for the reasons of collective negotiations pursuant Article 14 of the Civil Service Law and the medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person or corporation. There will not be a need for a vote afterwards. So if I can have a motion to move to executive, please. Thank you, David. Is there a second? Thank you, Sean. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. Have a good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out.
Congratulations.